I remember after all of those years of seeking, 20 something, when I felt so incredibly confused about why am I not getting results after doing all the meditation and all the yoga practices for all those years. For the first time, when I learned how to instantly shift, how to instantly be aware that I am being the awareness, that I am being myself, I felt that absolute relief. Just imagine 20 years of searching and then one moment you have found. That was the relief that I felt. And that came with such an incredible peace. And for me, throughout my entire journey of seeking, what I sought was peace. That was my main goal. That was what I craved the most. Because I craved that emotional stability. I craved that sense of immovable presence in the midst of emotional turmoil, emotional challenges, stress, problems, agitation. I crave to be that pillar of stability and unshakable peace and wisdom, because I did intuit how many blessings will come from the simple fact that I am being the peace in the midst of the chaos, in the midst of the storm of life, the eye of the storm, if you will. I just intuited how incredibly rich that will be for my life. And after all that seeking and turmoil and struggle, I definitely sought peace. And so that was the name of the game for me. And when I felt that, I was so incredibly happy to recognize that I have access to my own peace at will. I can reach it anytime I choose. And that gave me such a sense of power, empowerment, relief, safety, confidence. And over the years, as I cultivated just the simple knowing of myself and the nature of myself as infinite, ever-present peacefulness, this peace sank deeper and deeper and made its presence known more and more in my life and became the background of my experience. So I can say it's always there. Whatever happens, no matter how challenging or catastrophic or grave or dangerous, that peacefulness is always present, and I know it's the peace of my own being. And in that in itself, it's so incredibly comforting and reassuring. It is the place of inspiration. It is the place of healing. It is the place of wisdom. It is the place of confidence. It is the place of joy. It is everything. When you know the peace of your own being, you know you have that anchor, that refuge that you can go back to any time. It's just so undescribable, the effects that you feel in your life. So this process of having this knowing, this feeling of peace always there in my heart, in my mind, in the background of my experience that I know I can rely on. It's there. It's not moving. It's always there. It has grown. It has sank deeper the more I cultivated just simply being with my own being and knowing the nature of my being as infinite, eternal, ever-present awareness. And I'm telling you, I never thought that this is possible. I mean, when I heard the masters speak about this, I could never imagine how would that be. I could never imagine how would a life based on peace or happening on a background of peace would feel like or be like. it was unimaginable for me in the midst of the life that I was living at the time of seeking. So when you find that peace, you feel the seeking is over, because that's what you've looked for all along. It's all those limitations just fall away and everything loses meaning. You lose interest in the drama of life. The peace is just so much more delightful and so much more precious. You no longer want to disturb it and engage in things that are not essential, that are not truly significant. And it's just such a blessing to know your own peace, to know the peace of your own being. So if that's what you want for yourself, watch this video and find out more about peace. And if you feel you do need guidance, schedule a call with me. But do something about it. Peace is not just going to come to you. You have to go to it. You have to be it in order to experience it fully and to reap all of its blessings and miracles. So I invite you to watch today's video. I hope you'll enjoy it. It's a tribute to one of the greatest attributes of our own being that most human beings seek, the place of peace. Welcome, dear seeker. I am so utterly delighted to present to you today the first episode from the gorgeous series that is entitled The Silent Revolution of Self-Realization. It is obviously about the revolution that self-realization creates in our lives, in every aspect of our being and outer life. The first episode today, it's called The Place of Peace. And I'm looking forward to go into depth and savorous details, clarity about these topics, about some of the most revolutionary aspects that self-realization touches and brings into our lives. I feel very excited about this new series entitled The Silent Revolution of Self-Realization, because it gives me the opportunity and the honor to talk about these beautiful aspects self-realization touches in our lives that are not often discussed in length, in detail, in depth. And this is what I am going to do in this beautiful series. The place of peace. Everyone longs for peace. During my 30 years on this path now, every single human being that I talked with, in no matter what circumstances that got us into a conversation with more depth, I heard people say, I long for peace. What I wish for myself is peace. I wish I had peace. I wish I knew how to have peace. So we innately crave peace because we innately, inherently know, deeply know within our being that peace is our true nature. And we want to return back home to the peace of our own being. But for so many people, peace feels elusive, oftentimes no matter what they do in order to reach it, to achieve it, to know it. Why? First of all, because this search for peace oftentimes starts with a false premise that peace is something to attain rather than something that is already present. So the core theme of this episode is that peace is not created or achieved. Peace is revealed. Peace is always present. It is also called a divine attribute that has its own unmodifiable frequency. Other teachers or masters call it our true nature. It is the very foundation, the very baseline of our own being. That is how our being feels like. And there's this beautiful famous quote from, I think, Ramana Maharishi, if I'm not mistaken, that says, "Peace is happiness at rest, and happiness is peace in motion." In other words, peace and happiness are the same thing. Sometimes it, in a state of stillness, is experienced as peace. In a state of movement or bubbling up, is experienced as joy, as happiness. Peace is not a temporary absence of problems or a fleeting experience, but it is an unshakable presence beneath all experience. Peace is ever present. The only reason why we don't see it and we don't feel it is simply because we direct our attention to something else, to what is happening, to the turbulences that appear on the surface, so to speak, of peace. Peace is not something that the mind can manufacture, or the mind can create, or the mind can effort towards. It is actually the very receding back of the mind in its own source. That is when true, real, lasting peace is revealed, and its presence is made known. There is a difference that we can distinguish in our experience between conventional peace, so to speak, that which comes from a circumstance or a situation, which is, we can call conditional peace, something that you feel at peace about because it happened or because it didn't happen. But that is merely a tiny bit of a reflection of the eternal peace of your own being that is ever present. So we're not talking about the fleeting experience or the glimpses of peace, which are merely the reflections or the emergence of the ever-present peacefulness of your own being. The place of peace is the place of your own being. And the peace of your being is unconditional, ever present. So it is not a matter of seeking peace, it is a matter of knowing where to look or how to go, figuratively speaking, to the place where peace always resides, and that is simply your own being. You cannot find or feel the peace that you crave if you're constantly running away from yourself, if you're constantly running away from spending quality moments with yourself in silence, slowing down, truly allowing yourself to be with your own being. That's the only way you can reach that peace that you so crave. Why peace feels lost or unreachable? Well, first of all, because we tend to identify with the turbulences our emotions and thoughts create. As I said, we tend to focus on what is happening, on the movement, rather than on the ever-present peacefulness, the background of peacefulness onto which all of these turbulences appear and disappear, or to which these thoughts, emotions that trouble us appear and disappear. So the question is not seeking peace, the question is about knowing where to look in order to be aware of the peace that is already present. Many people live with the illusion that peace will come from escaping situations or fixing things or gathering things, information, status, money. Peace doesn't come from fixing, achieving, or escaping. Peace is already present. You don't have to do anything or be anything in order to have access to your own peace. All you need is to know where to look. And that sometimes can be difficult only because we've been taught to look the other way. We have trained a habit of looking outside of ourselves for things that we crave, thinking that that's how we're going to fulfill that which we wish for. But that is an illusion, that is a suffering in itself, and it is time, if you're watching this video and you are someone who wants peace, to simply allow yourself to sit with your own being. Just be aware that you are aware now, in this very moment. And see how peace is always already present with the knowing that you are aware. Most people who don't seem to find the peace that they seek often don't find it because they don't give themselves the real time to sit with themselves. They claim they crave peace, but on the other hand, they keep themselves busy with all sorts of actions in the desperate attempt to avoid truly sitting down with themselves, slowing down, sitting themselves down, and being with their own being, where peace is always present. The effort of finding peace or struggling to find peace actually moves you further away from the peace that you seek, because finding peace, or better said, being with the peace of your own being, because it was never lost in the first place. You just lost your way. You're looking in a different direction. It is effortless. It does not require any effort. If anything, it is the lack of any effort. It's the only effortless thing. Because you already are always being. And because you already are being, that peace is always with you, with your own being. Right now, you can simply, easily just take this moment, since you're here listening. Take a breath, a conscious breath, and acknowledge the peace of yourself in this moment. If you're fully here now, listening to these words, simply be aware that you are aware. I am aware. And in that brief moment when you are aware that you're aware, acknowledge that peace is present as your nature, as your true nature, as the very flavor, if you will, of your own being. That's all it takes. If you're willing to do this a few times a day, you will get more and more glimpses of this peace. Yes, at first they feel like fleeting experiences, only because the habit has been different. Only because you've been training your mind to notice the clouds, so to speak, while you were always the sky that's always at peace. But in time, the more you practice this, the more you train this new habit, you will notice that the peace of the sky, in this metaphor, or the peace of your own being, is always there. The thoughts, the emotions that come and go, they are temporary. You are always present, and so is your own peace. That unshakable silence, presence, that is always there between two thoughts, two emotions, two fluctuations of your mind. That background is always there. That is the peace that you seek. When you stop grasping, you notice that peace is already here. So recognize that peace is your true nature. It is not something you achieve, it is something you uncover. But in order to be able to do that, you have to sit down, to slow down, to stop grasping, to stop agitating, to simply be. And the more you train with being while sitting, while taking the time to sit down with yourself, the more you get a grasp on, so to speak, the place of this peace of your own being. And the more you will be able to bring it into your day-to-day, into your activities. It becomes the new place where you operate from, where you think, feel, function from in the world. And that changes everything. Just imagine peace infusing every thought, every emotion, every action, every relationship. Peace gives you freedom, it gives you confidence, boundlessness, genius, and so much more. I'll let you contemplate what an enormous gift being in the presence of your own peace will bring to your life as long as you cultivate it. And I invite you to see our last video. If you knew the value of knowing your true nature, you would pay any price. And this series about the silent revolution of self-realization comes naturally in order to enforce that statement, because truly everybody seeks self-realization, whether they call it like that or they know it or not. That's what we all seek, the knowing of our own true being and its infinite eternal nature, because that literally solves every struggle, every suffering, every problem, every question, every doubt, every fear, every lack. Peace exists independent of your thoughts or emotions existing. It is not a matter of pushing your thoughts away or trying to get rid of your thoughts. It's a matter of directing your attention to the peace of your own being rather than paying your attention to your thoughts and emotions. That's all it is. And it might feel like an effort in the beginning because you're simply not used to operate in that way. But the more you train, the more easy it becomes, as with everything else. You can be a master of peace, if you so choose, by simply training every day, giving your full attention and full being to being with the peace of your own being as much as possible during the day. Another way to recognize the peace of your own being is to be aware when you put up resistance to the present moment. When you drop any resistance to anything, peace is there, present, felt, experienced. Resistance is that which creates suffering and turbulence. So You can also practice dropping resistance when you feel it's coming up. At first, it might be actually difficult to identify it, but the more you practice, the more you increase your self-awareness, the more you will notice when something feels uncomfortable within you, when you lift up a wall or put up a hand against a situation or a person, something that you're not comfortable with, that you resist to, just drop that resistance, accept that moment fully, and see how peaceful you feel. And then just simply focus on the peace. Pay your attention to the peace rather than to whatever you thought is bothering you. So it's important to understand that peace, it's not a state. It's not a fleeting experience. It is your true nature. It is always here. It is the nature of awareness itself, which is what you are. Some people have some misconceptions about peace, and one of them being that peace means a lack of emotion or challenge. Peace doesn't mean a lack of emotion. On the contrary, when you have found the peace of your own being, you feel safe and open and wide enough to contain any emotion. So you basically allow yourself to feel fully, to live fully, when you know the peace of your own being. And challenges feel less challenging when you know that you found that anchor, that place within you that is always at peace no matter what happens. That is where you find your center, your strength, your genius, your insights, your power, your inspiration, your love, your compassion. It's all there. Another misconception about peace may be that it is about numbness or suppression. Again, not at all. Actually, it's full aliveness. When you know the peace of your own being, you are fully alive. You allow yourself to be fully what you are, whatever expression comes through to you in the moment. It's far from the truth, farthest from the truth that peace may mean suppression or numbness. It's exactly the opposite. It is full expression and full aliveness. Because, as I said, just test it yourself. When you are in that place of peace, you feel good. You feel at peace with everything. All is well. You feel free. There's no restriction. There's no contraction. Nothing needs to be suppressed. Nothing needs to be numbed. It's just this alive principle of life that is vibrating continuously. And as you sit with the peace of your own being, you are able to feel that freedom, that aliveness, more fully, more present, more vibrant. When you are caught up in thoughts and emotions, situations, you lose sight of your own being. That's why you don't feel your own peace. So that's the only thing you need to do, to look at the peace, put your attention onto the peace in order to feel your own peace. Another misconception is expecting peace to be an experience rather than the place or the background where all experience happens. As I said, peace is the nature of your own being. It is the space, if you will, within which everything happens. That means it is always here with you. It never goes away, no matter what the circumstances are. It's not a myth, it's a reality, and you can definitely grasp that reality. As I told you, just sit down with yourself, fully here now. Be aware that you are aware. And peace is with that recognition of yourself as the one aware. Peace is your nature. Living from peace changes everything, as you can imagine. Of course, we cannot talk here about everything that peace changes in your life, but I truly invite you to contemplate as you feel, experience the peace of your own being, how it can change absolutely everything in your own life and being with its presence. Life no longer feels like a battle. You are no longer at war with yourself or others or the world. Circumstances may shift, but the ground of your own being remains untouched, unmoved, unchanged, forever present. So every time you give yourself the chance, just rest as the awareness. Rest with your own being. Be aware that you are being. Return to your own being, whatever you want to call this pathless path. Find your own words that feel true to you, but find a true path, which is not in your mind. It is actually going beyond the mind, prior to thoughts and emotions. And recognize that the silent presence of your own being is always present, never ceases to be. No effort, no seeking, just noticing, being. This is a sacred path that not many choose to choose, because it takes courage to give everything up, to sit down with yourself, to sit in the silence of your own being. Why? Because at some point in our journey, we just don't feel strong enough to face whatever it's going to be revealed when we just simply sit down with yourself. But it's truly nothing to fear. You are infinite, eternal awareness. Nothing can ever overcome you. You can never lose yourself from yourself. You are always being yourself. Only you forgot, only you lost sight of that. That's it. And if you ever feel you need guidance, talk to someone, reach out. Don't stay in misery and in seeking and in unfulfillment for years. It's just not worth it. So every time you need an answer, every time you want to feel you want to regenerate, to recharge, there is no better place than the place of peace.